we have had really good discussions, and we have been discussing issues such as the limitations of large-scale assessment studies, but also the future and what can be done. So one key thing which came up, which I personally think is very important, is how can students actually learn something from these studies? Can we do something to support teachers to increase quality of teaching in the classroom? Because on the bottom line, that's the most important thing.
Today's event was very nice because this panel of people like me, and we have seen that we are all really involved in international assessment. We are working for different institutes or different academic people, and we are really stakeholders in the field of international assessment. And so we have a scientific interest, but also we are the border with policy making and the communication of the results and interpretation and spreading all this result in a proper way. And so this we have this in common, and that was I think for the audience could perceive that we are all struggling, or let's say we are all challenged by the fact to build good measurement, good instruments, and also to think about their use and their disseminations and communication and their impact and consequences. And I hope it was clear for the audience.
For me, this event has been very, very important because we are the institution that is in charge of PISA, and we also do some of the IEA studies, such as the civics study, the ICCS, and we also participate in the regional network for assessment, which is the Laboratorio de Calidad de la Educación, which is based in Chile, but we have been participating for 10 years already in that. So we have a lot of experience in international assessments, and one of the things that has happened recently is that we have been very worried that we see no changes in the results of international assessments in general, particularly PISA, which we have been doing since the year 2000, actually the institution since the year 2003. And the first 3 cycles of PISA were very important for Mexico because it was the first measure of comparability with the outside world, and because we realized that we were not teaching children and students how to think. No, there was a memorization, an emphasis on memorization within our system, and it was very important to move on to what PISA was measuring, which was higher order thinking skills. But after the 3rd cycle, results became like a routine, and they were more or less the same. Our order and the rank of countries was more or less the same. Also, more countries started coming in, but nevertheless, the results were more or less the same. We didn't seem to be improving. There are some exceptions to that. For example, we improved in mathematics in the last PISA example, but in general, we weren't seem to be improving. So the big question is, how does it impact policy, and how does it impact what is happening in the classroom and what the students are learning?
As an educational researcher, I have done research for many years, both in classrooms on teaching quality, teaching processes, student learning, and in international assessments, and I am still convinced that international assessments can help reflect on education, can help to understand cultural contexts, and may also help to improve teaching and learning in schools. But they also, as assessments, they need to be improved. For example, by bringing more longitudinal data in them, by improving data and quality control measures and so on. So I'm convinced that they have a potential, but I'm also critical about many aspects of how they are implemented and interpreted.
One of the things which we are doing in Oxford, which we try to support both teachers and students, is to have a project called Pearls for Teachers. And we're working together with teachers in Oxford and how we can interpret the results from Pearls. And we discuss also from their perspectives what would they like to know about these studies, what kind of results would be beneficial for them, and then we also discuss issues such as gender issues, reading literacy, how to improve your instructions in reading. And moving forward, I would really welcome studies where teachers are more included in what we're doing in large-scale assessments.
For me, one of the things that I consider very important is to measure what is basic, what every child or 15-year-old or 10-year-old or whatever has to know anywhere in the world, and I consider that that is what is legitimately evaluated, or that can be legitimately evaluated by international assessments. And I reinforced that idea during this event, and well, that helps us make important decisions within the Institute.
This kind of places where we can find people from social and political science and people from doing the job, let's say, in international assessment. I think it's very important to have to organize such a meeting and to have such discussions, because we have to take care about communicating between all the stakeholders, all people that are involved in this, and it's a lot of people in education. So I'm very happy to be able to participate to this event, and I hope this kind of spaces, this kind of discussions could appear frequently.
Sometimes when I discuss with colleagues, especially here in Germany, I find there's a war going on between people who criticize assessments and people who work on them or are in favor. At this seminar, I love the constructive atmosphere. There's a constructive discourse, there's an open-minded discourse going on. It's true interdisciplinarity among educational researchers, psychometricians, economists, policy researchers, philosophers. So it's a great experience for me, and one of the few international experience where you really can find an open-minded debate on assessment.
People are discussing what is behind the question of international assessments, and what can we expect from them, and how can we get more use out of them, and when should we say, well, let's stop doing international assessments because we are already repeating ourselves. So because of course international assessments are very expensive for countries, and the cost benefit is something to be taken into account.